Hi, it's Eva Cartman, and you are listening to the Dream Big Podcast Show, the place to go to learn, laugh, and grow. Today, I have a real treat for you. One of the world's greatest living poets, InQ, is on the podcast. He performs his superpowers poem, plays a rhyming game with me, and teaches us why we must inquire within. This is episode 187 of the Dream Big Podcast. You ready? It's time to dream big.
Welcome to the Dream Big Podcast Show. We're inspiring you to shoot for the moon, take aim and go. We bring to you amazing guests who truly love what they do. Every day they're living their dreams, and so can you. Dream big, take action to reach your goals. Are you pumped yet? It's showtime, let's rock and roll.
Before I introduce this week's guest, here's a segment that we like to call Silly Sophia.
Hi guys, I made this one up. What did the lamb say to the chicken? Come back. What animal needs to wear a wig? A bald eagle.
Thank you so much, Sophia. Our guest today is InQ. InQ is based in Los Angeles, where my family lives too. So we were fortunate enough to meet InQ and do the interview face-to-face just a few weeks before the stay-at-home orders took effect. If you're not familiar with InQ's work, you should be. InQ is one of today's greatest living poets. He's a National Poetry Slam champion and multi-platinum songwriter. His groundbreaking achievements include being named to Oprah's SuperSoul 100 list of the world's most influential thought leaders and being the first spoken word artist to perform with Cirque Du Soleil. We are so excited to support InQ with the launch of his book, Inquire Within. InQ performs one of his incredible poems during the interview, and InQ was kind enough to send me an advanced copy, and it's simply incredible. Thank you, InQ, for sharing your gift with the big dreamers, and please support InQ by going to in-q.com and ordering your copy of Inquire Within today. Without further ado, here's my interview with InQ. Hi, InQ. Welcome to the Dream Big Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's so amazing to have you. And actually, a couple years ago, my parents went to your show at the Mark Taper, and they absolutely love your poems, and so do I.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So I know from my research that you grew up being a fan of hip-hop music.
Yeah.
And your original dream was to be a rapper.
Yes.
But can you tell the story of how you took your career of being a rapper and pivoted to being a poet?
It was a long, long process. It wasn't like an easy thing. But ultimately, when I was around 13, so a few years older than you, I fell in love with hip hop, and I just absolutely loved the art form and the expression of it. And I started freestyling, and it was my favorite thing in the world to do. And then when I was 19 years old, I wound up in an open mic for poets in Los Angeles called the Poetry Lounge, which is something that maybe in a couple of years you'll be able to go to. It's a really, really cool environment, and there's a lot of cussing, but it's people getting up and sharing their minds and sharing their hearts, and it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful environment. And so I got up and I started doing my rapping a cappella, and people responded to it, and that was the beginning of my poetic journey.
Wow, that's amazing, because I know that when you were a kid that there wasn't really like a lot of people who took poetry and made it their career and made money off it.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how you took your knowledge of the art of spoken word and you led the way for other people who wanted to continue to do poetry.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, a lot of people led the way for me too. You know, the community that I came from, I mean, some of my best art experiences were being in the audience, watching other poets. You know, I mean, it completely lit me up. And a lot of these people really like paved the way. So I'm just trying to pay it forward by doing the same thing and to follow the things that I'm enthusiastic about. And I love poetry because I think poetry makes people feel less alone, and it inspires empathy. And I think empathy is what the world needs most right now.
That's amazing. And I know that you go by InQ.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you could share with our audience how you came up with that name, InQ, and what does it mean?
I will. But first of all, I just want to say you're fantastic.
Thank
you are crushing life right now.
Thank
You
you.
have such a great vibe. It's so fun to be interviewed by you and to have this conversation. So InQ was given to me when I was like 15, and I was very curious about my life, asked questions about people, similar to you, like very curious, always going out, wondering, okay, like I see that this is how it is, but let me ask deeper questions. What does it mean? You know, what am I like living here? Like, who am I? Who is this environment? All these deeper questions. So I think if I didn't become a poet, I might have become like a therapist, you know, or a journalist or something like that. So my friend said, you know, your rap name should be Inquiry. And that was where InQ came from. So Inquiry was my first name. And then people started calling me InQ. And then people started calling me Q. And eventually InQ was like changed to be In Question. And it's really my life philosophy, is to ask questions about myself and my environment, to be a seeker, and to try to mirror that back onto my audience.
That's amazing, because I know that's a pattern that I see in most of my guests. They ask big questions like
Cal.
like Cal. And actually, a recent guest that we had on the podcast, Laird Hamilton, when people told him, he was a big wave surfer, and when people told him that's impossible, like no one makes money off of being a big wave surfer, he asked the question, why not? And that's kind of like you and your poetry.
Or you and your podcast.
Yeah, kind of like me and my podcast. And since people aren't doing it, you asked, why not? And just big dreamers, they ask big questions.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you.
So that's a great segue to your new book, Inquire Within.
Wow, that was such a great segue to a segue about my new book, Inquire Within.
So can you share why you chose that name for your book?
Yeah, well, first of all, of course, because of inquiry, it just made sense. And that's kind of the philosophy of my life, and also something that I infuse into my work. But also I would say, okay, when you look at the book, right, the cover is a tree. And so the branches mirror the roots. And then when you turn it to the side, it looks like lungs. And then the two halves of the book are inhale and exhale. So inhale is kind of like the personal poems. It's my poetic hero's journey, all about my life. And then exhale is the social and political poems. So it's, you know, if you change yourself, you can change the world. And Inquire Within, the name of it is because I had to inquire within myself to create it. I'm asking the people who read it to inquire within the pages of the book, and ultimately to inquire within themselves, because that one true voice that will give them their passion and their purpose is going to come from the inside, not the outside.
Wow, I agree. And I've heard some people say that the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one that you have with yourself. And actually,
that's deep.
There's kind of like an example for it. Like, so there's two people that go to the same school. One person loves school and the other does not. They're faced with the same situation, same school. It's just the conversation they're having with themselves. And it's just kind of like you're talking to yourself, and it just matters what you're telling yourself.
That's so true. So what do you tell yourself on a day-to-day basis that helps keep you on the right track and living your best young life and playing? Because it's so clear that you play in the world. You know, you have such a great energy and you're open. And so what is the conversations that you have within your own head?
I mean, I guess it's just like staying positive and just turning every negative situation and finding the
silver lining.
Silver lining, yeah.
Great. That's very true.
Yeah. And I know that your book features your incredible poetry. And
You're so nice.
I was hoping that you could share your poem about the Vaughn's employee.
Oh, wow. Okay.
With our audience.
I could, but it definitely has some cussing in there. I don't know how I would feel about doing that. It's up to you guys. Is that okay?
I mean,
maybe I'll bleep it out or something like that. Feels a little bit mature. You know, I could do my superpowers poem. That has no cussing in it.
Sure.
Is that okay? Is
Yeah,
that a
that's
better
fine.
one? I think it's like a better one to do
Yeah.
because the other one's a little bit mature. Okay, so this one's called Superpowers, and I specifically wrote this in collaboration with Life is Good, which is a clothing company out of Boston, and they make these amazing clothing, all sorts of stuff, but with really positive messages. And so we did this one a few years ago, and this one's also in my book, and I'm really proud of it. When I think of superheroes, I think of superhuman. I think of Superman, Black Panther, and Wonder Woman. Usually they have a cape or a mask to hide their face. They have X-ray vision and superhuman strength. Some can even breathe in outer space. They fly around a while, but always come back to keep our cities safe. They're here to save humanity from itself. It's a metaphor for how we look outside ourselves for help. And while the fantasies are fun, I choose to look to me and you. Yeah, we love superheroes, but we have superpowers too. It starts with being open to this moment. If we do, then we can own it. Besides, it'll be gone before we know it, so don't blow it. You owe it to this second of eternity to show up. Embrace the possibilities and slow up. Take a breath. Look around. See the sights. Hear the sounds. Feel the ground. Notice how the gravity holds you down. You could be anywhere in the world, and yet you're here. When you embrace it as your own, you can overcome any fear. And real courage is looking in the mirror. It's deciding what you want to do, then making it appear. It's creating out of thin air. You must be doing something right if you got scared. Otherwise, you wouldn't care. It's a process to get here to there. We're on the journey and we're learning, but building muscle means you're going to feel some burning. So don't deny it, simplify it, try it, see if it can work for you. Change perspective to get a different view. And don't forget, you got to laugh at the truth. Because sometimes a sense of humor is the only thing that pulls you through. It's medicine when you can let it in. An attitude of gratitude will bubble up from within. So even when the storm clouds block the blue from your sky, you'll remember that the sun is waiting for you on the other side. And having fun is something we must decide. From the lows to the highs, it's all a part of the ride. I can throw my hands up or hold on for dear life. But I'd rather live once than make the same mistake twice. Compassion is my passion. Empathy is my gift. But my growth is incremental as my consciousness shifts, so I create from the abyss, turning pain into gold. I'm an alchemist, an optimist, and an authentic soul. I believe that life is good, even when it hurts to see. I believe in superpowers, and I believe in you and me. I believe in superheroes, but I don't look for them above, because they exist inside us all, and we save the day with love.
Wow, that was amazing.
Thank you.
You're such a great storyteller.
That's so nice of you. I appreciate that.
So I noticed that in your poems, you have like amazing stories, and they just tell stories, and they're very moving. And could you share with our big dreamers how you could write a story and if you have any tips.
Yeah, absolutely. So to anybody who's listening that wants to learn how to write a poem, the first thing that you have to realize, and this is for you too, because I would love to hear one of your poems. Are you a poem writer?
I write poems with my dad, like rhyming poems.
That's fantastic. You're going to have to send me one of them. Okay? So here's the thing. If you want to write a poem, the first thing that you have to do is you have to think of something that is moving and meaningful to you. So you, in your life right now, something that inspires you, something that moves you, something that annoys you even, something you say, oh, this annoys me, because that's where your passion is. That's where you're going to get your charge. And if you start with something that is moving and meaningful, then the rest of the poem will almost write itself if you give it enough time and space. So all you have to do is set aside 20 minutes or 10 minutes to write your poem, choose something that's charging you at that time in your life, and then you have to do this last thing, was you have to intend for it to be a poem. So you have to say, I'm going to write a poem. There are no rules to poetry in my book. You don't have to rhyme, or you can rhyme. It can be long, it can be short, but you have to say, this is a poem. And if you say this is a poem and you write something moving and meaningful, I promise you, you'll almost be surprised at how easily it flows.
That's really cool. And I know that there are some storytellers that don't do rhyming poems or, like poems that rhyme. But I think just rhyming poems make it a lot more fun and easier to memorize.
Totally.
And they're just, they're really fun, especially for like for our audience with like younger kids and adults. They're just really fun poems, especially if they rhyme.
Let's play a rhyming game right now, you and me. Okay,
sure.
Ready? So I'll start with a sentence and then you'll rhyme the next sentence and then I'll go back and forth. Okay, ready?
Okay.
So you and me are spending time.
We're trying to make poems that rhyme.
We're sitting here in front of a microphone.
I love to spend time with my chickens at home.
Hey! If I come over, that's something I would love to be shown.
They spend all day eating and they love to roam.
Perfect. Next week we'll hang out. I'll call you on the phone.
My sister comes home every day and plays on her drone.
Oh, all right. Double high five. Great job. So that's just like a fun thing you can do with yourself too. And then that's a fun way to like expand your vocabulary and your rhyming skills. And then when you go back to writing your poems, you'll just like have more like tools to use when you sit down. You'll be more confident. But it's like just fun, never any pressure, always fun,
Yeah, that's really amazing. You can just come up with one on the spot.
You did too right there. That was great. First of all, drone is a great rhyme. Drone, great rhyme.
I was trying to figure out how to put that at the beginning, but I couldn't really think of.
Yeah, or roam. Both of those are great words, great rhymes. Yeah.
So what do you love about rhyming?
The rhymes will lead the way. It's like there's that whole saying that they say, follow the path and the path will lead the way. That's for your life. And it just means follow your enthusiasm and that will tell you where you want to go, And the rhymes are similar. Follow the rhymes and the rhymes will lead the way. So if I start in a place that's true with my poetry, if I write something or I pay attention to my life and I say, wow, this really moves me, I'm going to start the poem there. Then the rhymes tell me where the poem wants to go. And I almost just have to get out of the way.
Wow, that's so cool. Like, I know, like, I've wrote a couple, like, poems or rhymes before when I was, like, little. But it's just so cool that you do it, like, now for, like, you do it every day, and it's for you, it's like really fun doing it. And
yeah, it's like just a part of my life now in every possible way. But for you, you're at such a great age. Like you're so pure right now. So your creativity is just flowing through you. There's not like so much, what should I look like? What should I be like? What should I act like? No self-judgment. It's just let the creativity move through you, because you have a voice and you're using it right now to touch so many people. So don't think about what other people think. Don't even think about what you should be like. Just allow as many opportunities for you to create as you can, because your voice is really important and unique, and it's great that you're sharing it with the world. We want to hear more of it.
Wow. And I know that you rhyme and like many people hear it, but how did you I know when I was younger, I would always be afraid of speaking. I wouldn't even place my order at a restaurant. How did you have a fear of public speaking, and how would you recommend overcoming it?
Well, like anything else, you overcome it by doing it. So you have to first say, okay, I am afraid of this thing, because you can't fight against your fear. That doesn't work. If you fight against your fear, it actually creates more, right? So you have to say, okay, I am afraid, but that's okay. And I'm going to use that energy, right? And then you do it anyway. And the more that you do it anyway, the easier it becomes, and the more that fear goes away. And when the fear goes away, it turns into just excitement and energy. Because all fear is, or any emotion, it's just energy, right? So you have to feel through it and then release it and then do what you want to do anyway.
Wow, that's so cool. And I know that you also went to the Poetry Lounge.
Yeah, that's like my home.
That's also how you can overcome just speaking in front of a bunch of people.
Exactly.
Just to overcome it. I started this podcast to overcome my fear of public speaking and stuff like that. And
you're doing amazing now. How does that feel for you? Do you feel like it's less than it was before? And what has been your experience?
I'm definitely less nervous than I was before.
Yeah.
Because I went from not being able to place my order to now speaking in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Live and in person and over the microphone.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And then you sharing your experience, you give other people permission as an invitation to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially people your age, because we need your guys' voices.
Yeah. All you need to do is get started and push outside of your comfort zone.
For sure.
I love your poem that's, do you mind if I share one of your poems? Or?
No, please.
Okay, so I love your poem that goes, do something you've never done, go someplace you've never gone. Some place that will scare you some, be someone you've never been, feel all that adrenaline. It's medicine to jumpstart a spark inside your skeleton. See, everywhere you are is where you're supposed to be, so hopefully you're as hopelessly lost as me. Because if you're not, you're ought to be.
Oh, that was the best part of my day so far. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with me.
So big dreamers out there, please go to in-q.com and get Inquire Within.
Yeah.
Because I know my aunt has Shel Silverstein poems sitting on her coffee table. Yeah. And you guys need to have Inquire Within sitting on your coffee table. And I mean everyone out there.
That's so nice of you. We got 60 illustrations in the book.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of has this philosophical Shel Silverstein feel. This guy from London, Musta Sharik, he made all of these amazing illustrations. So they kind of deepen the experience with the poetry. And then also I did an audiobook. And the audiobook is really, really something I'm proud of. So I recorded all of my poems. It's 2.5 hours, and I took it really seriously and found a way to, I think, do justice to the work. And so I'm excited to give both of those things away to the world. And I appreciate you for, bringing me on and allowing me to talk to your listeners who trust and love you. So that's a big deal. So I thank you for that.
Oh, it's so great having you here to speak to all these people and help them with their big dreams. So I love all of your poems and I love this interview. But, I have a couple quick questions before we wrap up. What are your hobbies and things that you like to do for fun?
That's a great question. I have to work on that more because what I do for a living is what I love. but it's not the same thing as a hobby anymore, right? So I have to work on getting outside of my comfort zone to have more hobbies. I do like to go to boxing. That's a lot of fun. Cal's an incredible boxer. He's like a real boxer, though. I'm like a wannabe boxer. But I like doing that. And then I like doing things like going to yoga. I go to Moto Yoga all the time. I absolutely love it there. And then I meditate daily. I do a lot of practices for self-care and rejuvenation. And those things are great hobbies, but I also want to find others that really excite me.
If you could go back in time and talk to your 10-year-old self, what would be the best advice?
I would say really just enjoy your life. You know, don't take it so seriously. You know, life is meant to be played with, you know, and as adults, I hope that you never find this out other than a concept. But as adults, you know, we get paid for what we do and we get validated externally and we start to like get trapped within our lives sometimes. And so that's why kids remind us how important it is to play. And I hope that I just continue to play for the rest of my life. And so I would just say to my earlier self, don't take it so seriously. Don't take yourself so seriously and remember to play.
You have made many of your dreams a reality, but if you look at yourself today, what would be your big dream for the future?
I really believe in the art form of poetry. I really do, and I love it. I think it makes people feel less alone. And, you know, it just has always inspired me. So I hope that poetry becomes really big in popular culture. I think that poets should be on magazine covers and be on late night TV and, you know, open up Saturday Night Live. And there are so many amazing poets out there who are stars, and I want to see them shine. And I'm really, really grateful to be a part of that wave. And I hope that this book, Inquire Within, will, in my way, push it forward at least a little bit.
And our very last question, where can our audience find out more about you?
So you can go to my website, as you said, which is in-q.com, and you can purchase Inquire Within there or on Amazon or in bookstores. We did it with HarperCollins and Harper One specifically, so it should be out there in the world. And you can also come to shows. We have public shows all around the country. And I do workshops all around the country as well in the world. And then you can always hit me up on social media, which is @InQLife. And if you get the book, tag me and let me know what you think of the book. And, you know, just much love and poetry to everyone who's listening.
Wow, it was so great having you on the podcast.
Thank you, Eva. It's really a pleasure to be here. And I totally support you in every way. I think you're absolutely fantastic. And yeah, keep pursuing your big dream too.
Thank you so much. So big dreamers, go ahead and get Inquire Within and dream big. How amazing was that? InQ, you are simply amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, welcoming my mom and I into your home, and for sharing your gift with the big dreamers. Please be sure to get a copy of Inquire Within and support this amazing poet. You can go to in-q.com and we'll include links as well in our show notes at dreambigpodcast.com/187. If you haven't already, please make sure you check out the 50 hours of free personal growth content at dreambigpodcast.com/resources. There, you can also get access to my free course on positive mindset. If you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a review on iTunes at dreambigpodcast.com/iTunes. It means the world to me and my parents, and I do read each and every one of the reviews. And in your review, give my 4-year-old sister, Sophia, a shout out for her Silly Sophia segment too. That's all for today. This is Eva Cartman reminding you that you have unlimited potential. Your dreams not optional, you need to make them essential. So take massive action to turn those big dreams into reality. Live with passion, the way life is meant to be. See you next episode. Bye-bye.